Good morning. It's early in the morning in Norfolk, Nebraska. It's a cool day. I believe it's cool where you are as well in Rantoul today. But it's good to have a moment to be able to do uh, a fireside chat. And I've been trying to get to this one, honestly, for 2 weeks, which is interesting since the topic of what I'm wanting to do here for several weeks is to look at time. Time is something we all have, and time is something that we all wrestle with in a variety of ways. And looking just at my own self in the camera, I noticed with the lack of hair and the my head and the gray in my beard, time demonstrates itself and it wears on us in all kinds of ways as well. And this morning, I was just going to kind of set this up and I'm going to try to see if I can get several of these put together because it's just been interesting to reflect on time and the life of faith um, that we live and how all of it fits under God's hand. And in my studies, was remembering and recalled through one of the devotions I was reading the song or the hymn "Abide with Me." And that hymn is one of those ones that you go to a funeral and you hear a hymn or a song and it becomes something that stays with you and always drags out an emotional um, response from you. And I remember "Abide with Me" standing very clearly out in my head when my grandmother uh, on my mom's side passed away long ago in 1975. And that song has always been one I love, but it also still always brings a tear to my eye. And but over time, I've realized it's not just a tear of remembering my grandmother and loss, and the loss that it seems to be attached with that song, but it's what the hymn actually talks about. Because the truth is, every single one of us, the whole creation, and again, this is for one of those places where people think that the world, is by accident or anything else. The entire world is created with order in a way that Scripture describes, not only night and day, but also it is set in motion in seasons, uh, a time of growing and a time of planting, a time of growing, a time of harvest, and a time of rest or death in winter, which then prepares for more growing. And the whole cycle, even of the church year, is built on this process of abiding and this whole thing moving with us. The uh, the thing I was thinking of with the hymn "Abide with Me," the gentleman Henry Francis Light, who wrote that hymn, was someone who struggled and died early in life with the disease tuberculosis, and he always had to leave his homeland in England to go away to get some relief from it every time during the year. And he would come back, and these trips were kind of an annual thing as part of his seasons of life. And you think about the hymn "Abide with Me," and it really speaks to realizing, I think, even today in the midst of our world with all of the change and all the things going on and all the struggle, that no matter what things we try to impose, no matter what we try to put in place, no matter how much control we try to gain over it, um, control is still an illusion. It's just an illusion for us, flat out. We seek to have, we try to have, we enforce to have control, and it isn't possible. And it always comes true at one place for everybody. It always comes true as a clear reckoning. It comes true at the time of death. Even just recently, as Wednesday, I did a family service for Cliff Burley, uh, and remembering my conversation with him, and it just over and over in my head. I was blessed to be able to sit and talk with him. He invited me into that time with him, which I greatly appreciated. But he said, it's just all an illusion, isn't it? And I said, yep. We keep trying to have this control in ways we don't know. Um, but in the end, we realize we have no control because we are moving through. And it doesn't mean that we don't have moments of control. It doesn't mean we don't have moments where we can do things and have control over ourselves. But ultimately, to have control over things, including life and death, all of it falls under God's hand, the maker of all the seasons, the maker of all time, the holder of all time. And even more, God's time literally is described in the word chronos, which is a timelessness, where our time, God's time, excuse me, is a kairos, which is a timelessness. There is no beginning, no end. It just keeps moving. Our time, though, is called chronos, which is more of a linear, and it has a beginning and it has an end, and never the two will change. But kairos time never ends. So thinking again about this hymn, "Abide with Me," uh, it really does help if we pay attention to the words of hymns we sing and remember hymns. And even sometimes one of the greater devotional things to do is get a hymnal out and just start reading hymns. Because again, hymns are catechismal. They're teaching tools. They're ways to try to get us to remember and get us to hear. And though we always like certain hymns, the fact is if we miss all the other hymns that are out there, there's so much teaching that's involved in them, um, that we miss some things that are really important as well. But "Abide with Me," the two first verses really stand out. "Abide with me, fast falls the eventide. The darkness deepens, and Lord, with me abide. When other helpers fail and comforts flee, help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. Swift to its close ebbs out life's little day. Earth joy grows dim, its glories pass away. Change and decay, and all around I see. Oh, you who changes not, abide with me." It sounds like it was meant for today. It sounds like it was meant for this moment, when change and decay is constantly around us. And we realize that it seems like the days are moving faster and faster. And even now, seasonally, we're heading right back into that time where it's dark late in the morning, and it's dark early at night, because the seasons leave us in a darkness which seems to kind of surround us and seems to kind of engulf us. And winter disorder, I think, is more real. Again, I think I've mentioned that it's more real for me in Illinois than it was in Nebraska, because it literally gets dark far earlier than it did where I lived for 15 years, and so it's adjusting to that. But those words seem to just completely speak to me, and hopefully to you. Help of the helpless, when comforts flee, come and help me. Jesus, in these words, the song reminds us that Jesus is always the unchangeable. He's always the unmoving. He's always the unstoppable, and he's always present. Matter of fact, we use the word omnipresent as a theological term, that he's always present in everything. And so often we forget that. In the changes of the seasons of life, and the changes of seasons of each day, in the moments of each day, he's always with us, and he's offering us a difference as to how we face it, how we work with it, how we work through it, the choices we make, all the things that happen. And where it seems like the hymn talks about the fact that there's no time, because the day quickly is coming to an end already. As I wake up, the day is already quickly coming to an end, and I already have things I have to do today, and now I've got one more thing to do, because once again I found some kind of nail or something in my tire. I just noticed I had a low tire light, so there's one more thing I've got to do in my day, which is already busy. And in the middle of this, it reminds me, and I thought of the title of this hymn, "Abide with Me." In John chapter 15, around verses 17, or around verses 7, Jesus is talking about he is the vine, and we are the branches. Without him, we can't do anything. We run and scurry and scamper and do all kinds of stuff. We might be able to do some stuff. We can say, "Oh, Jesus, we do stuff." But the truth is, we can't do anything of any value. We can't do anything of any eternal worth. And his words are, "Abide with me." If you abide with me, he says, if you abide with me and I with you, my Father and I will come and we'll live with you. If you abide in my word, you'll be able to ask anything, because you'll understand, and you'll be able to know, and we'll come and we'll help you through it. We'll walk you through it. If you understand, because you're in my word and my teaching. The hymn prays in the sense that God would always abide with us, but also it reminds us that we need to abide with him. And as I was explaining at confirmation last week for anybody who didn't see it again, I was talking about the fact to those kids that the abiding is like the end of a piece of a vine that's been cut off or pruned, which has to happen so that growth can happen. And abiding is that the vine naturally makes this thing grow over it so that it protects it and it can heal and it can strengthen so that then it can go on and bear more fruit. In a sense, it's another season of life. So through all the seasons of life, through all the changes of time, for all the quickness of the world moving around us, and all the darkness that seems to be fading in around us and encompassing us and deepening around us, so that, like Psalm 69 again, we think it's coming up to our neck, Lord. And all of our suffering of life together, which we all do in a variety of different ways. Some, unfortunately, more than others, but all of us suffer. The hymn reminds us that in all these seasons, God offers us comfort, even when comfort runs away from us. When everything seems to be falling apart, Jesus doesn't change. His word doesn't change. His way doesn't change. His promises don't change. He reminds us that within and without, he is there. He's always the one who will be around, without beginning, without end, eternally. And we get to live each day as a person of faith before his face. The word is literally coram Deo, to live before the face of God every day. In every moment, we're living before his face, resting, hopefully, in that process, but not falling asleep and not becoming lazy, but resting in it so that we can be strengthened. If I think of John 15 and I think of the hymn, Abide with me, in some sense, I hear God's promise and Henry Light's thought, abide with me, God, so I can still keep making fruit, so I can still keep producing life, so I can continue to bear witness to you, the author and giver of all life. So I hope that you have a wonderful day today and you use the time well and wisely. I hope that you sure make time for yourself to abide with God, and not just a moment, but some serious time. Because in all, if you think about how much time we actually abide with God compared to how much time we do everything else, we have to ask ourselves, is it any wonder that our life is the way it is and feels the way it does? So a quick word, and I'll have an announcement with this as well for service on Sunday, but we are going to announce times for next week as we go to 2 services. But one thing I do want to remind people is, just like anything else, we tend to get a little lax as we move along. I just want to encourage you to remember that when we go to worship and we sit in the pews are still divided in thirds, even though we've done some work to try to sit family members and people together. Please make sure you try to stay to the ends of your pew, and as a family stay closer together so that the other people that are built into that pew from the seating have enough space and feel comfortable in space. Make sure that you sit close enough that you can get to the end of the pew so that there's enough room for everyone to fit in there. The pews are made for 10 or more people, and we're only putting 6, maybe 7 in there. So it should work clearly with enough space there. But again, we got to remember to just keep focused. We got to remember to keep reminding ourselves, and we've done such a good job of being there and doing it. We just got to always be reminded we're getting a little lax. We have to tighten the screws a bit. Just like my tire, there's something a little leaking out. I got to go get it fixed up. I got to get it tuned up. But again, I just give you thanks and praise for what you've been doing, how you've been going through this process. I give thanks for God's gift of you in my life. And I pray that God will continue to strengthen me so that I can serve you well and will offer you a new and a deeper walk with him as we abide together and he abides with us. Have a wonderful day today. God bless you all. I look forward to seeing you soon after I get through with this wedding here today. Bye-bye.